Alright, so let's run through this real quick. Alright, so let's run through this real quick. We're gonna make it more like a lesson. I know it's our first time seeing each other, but I've already seen most of what you've done before and can honestly look back at that a little bit more in depth. But contact, right? So the iron miss can be thin or heavy, right? That's coming from two different things, right? Relative to the golf ball, right? Club either entering into the ground back behind it's the heavy, or ascending into the ball too quickly is the thin, okay? When we talk about swing path, right, the amount that you swing in to out is going to change the attack angle, right? So let's look back at like a simple color-coded chart here, right? I'm sure you guys probably looked at something like position 6 a lot in the downswing from the side view camera angle. Did he ever put this up there before? Do you remember this? Does it look familiar or not?
I don't remember calling it 6 or
okay.
a number. But
Yep, just the P system of the golf swing. So we might as well start there real quick and just refresh you out with something like that then, right? So 9 different positions at the golf swing. We're looking at those positions from either that side view on the left or the face-on view on the right side of the screen. Position 1 is when you're addressing the golf ball. Position 2 is going to be when the club shaft gets to parallel in the backswing. Position 3 will be when your right or left arm, gets to parallel to the ground. And then 4 is the highest point and most amount of turn that you make. That's the finish of your backswing. Position 5 will be when that lead arm returns to parallel when you're swinging down into that golf ball. 6 will be back when that shaft gets to parallel again. 7 is going to be contact, where you strike the ground at. 8 will be when that right arm gets back to parallel, and then 9 is your full and your completed finish there. So at each one of those, we'll look at what's likely going to happen at that particular point in time, and we'll reference something like the motion numbers that you saw before. Okay? So we can just use this picture at this moment in time in the swing and likely predict where that club path was just by looking at the visuals there and using that motion number. And now we have that data point up there for you too. So 6 shots you've hit, you've got an average of the club path being into out, 9 degrees. Okay, on this particular swing that we're looking at for review, you swung 8.6 degrees into out, just looking at the video up here, Carlo, not necessarily the impact screen, just back up there again. Okay, club head back behind the hands. Now we can play picture match, and we could use the color code while we're playing picture match, right? So guy in blue there, we're matching up with that blue color code. He's got his hips 6 degrees open to the target. Your hips are 8 degrees open. You're right in line with that blue color code. Boom, there's OptiMotion spitting that number out to you. And then you got your shoulder turn is 15 degrees closed. You're actually a little bit more closed than he is there relative to the target line. Okay, so what's this doing to your club path? Well, it's making sure you're swinging to out. Okay, the ratio on creating an on-target hit is a 2-to-1 ratio. So if we swing with the club path being 2 degrees into out, we want to point our face 1 degree left of that, which would be 1 degree open to the target line also, and then you're hitting a nice push draw, right? You're battling the hook from 2 different things happening there. The first really being just how far into out you are swinging, and then where the face is relative to that path, it's just more left, creating more of the leftward curve that you're seeing. Okay. Now, if you keep in mind what I had mentioned earlier about attacking angle, right? The green color represents those tour players. They hit down 5 degrees. Okay. You look back at what you're doing in the color code here, you're starting to swing pretty level into that golf ball. The attacking angle is only 2 degrees down, which is virtually straight into it. Okay.
And then it's like this, like
yeah.
sweeping.
Almost sweeping. So when you start to sweep, right, if you look at that arc again relative to the ball, you're going to be level into it. You might even swing up into it. Okay? There's your thin. Now you talk about your heavier hit. The club's getting to a more shallow position. It's getting back behind you more. So the more that it falls, yeah, right?
I've been working on like mirroring and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And I can do this and be in that position where it just feels so weird that from here I gotta be here before coming down.
And that's what it really comes down to, the feel and the real.
Yeah.
Right? Like you know where you gotta be.
So like if you ask me where I have to be when the car, I think I remember well to know that it should be close here and there pointing in.
Sure. So you could look at prior positions, like you're looking at takeaway there. So we might as well, we'll just reroute here because it is a position before the one I want to look at, right? If we look at where you are in the takeaway when the shaft does get to parallel, right, you'll begin to be able to play picture match up to what you're seeing something like your lead arm do, where your hands are, right? They're not swinging in and around you enough. So it's not moving where you want it to. You're able to describe where you want it to move it to, and you're doing some good rehearsals. I think it could still be exaggerated because like what you're saying and what you're experiencing from this spot, the fact that I need to go to here, it's a long way. Versus if I get my hands on my arm to go more here and then here, now I'm there faster. I don't need to do this kind of weird looping around motion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So you're missing the mark there a little bit, and that's more not necessarily turn, because you're turning like a tour player. It's more like how you're using that lead shoulder in the backswing. Okay? So think about it this way. That arm angle happened because of the tilt happening. The very end of the grip is now pointed back at you, right? Where over here it's rolled over and pointing more like right of target line, right? And then that arm doesn't move in enough to help support the remainder of the backswing happen. So at that point in time, because of the lack of tilt, your head is already more high up than it is staying inclined to where you were setting up at. So you're losing the arc already very early on from the lack of that tilt happening. There's your thin or your heavy. Okay? So from here, the form looked pretty good. That's what's going to happen from there. I know that feels funky, but I bet it's way less than what you actually need to do on the downswing. Like I see what you're trying to do on the downswing. You're trying to get it on the inside. And you do, okay, you do a good job rerouting the club to an inside position, right? But from doing that and the way that you're doing it, right, it's going to make that club drop down and under on the inside too much. And then boom, there's your heavy or your shallower hit than what it actually should be or needs to be. Where from here, what you could do is just what you're normally doing on your downswing anyway, which is rotating. Okay, I don't actually have the full swing from there, but that top position is way different than getting up there. See, I see what you're trying to do. You know that everything's got to fall back this way just to have that club end up back over here.